Okay, good morning, everyone, unless you're over there where Patrick is, in which case, good afternoon. We want to welcome you to episode 16 of the Solar Sailing Podcast. We've had a great time. We've learned a lot. We have definitely been exposed to some really cool projects. And I am Jason. I'm sitting here on the hard in Missouri. The best I can do is get in my little aluminum boat with my grandson yesterday and use our E-Light at 500 watts, 500 watts worth of glory. And we actually went swimming in the Kansas River yesterday. So I think I need another shower, honestly. It was so much mud. But yeah, welcome. We're looking forward to chatting with Carl, who is here. You can wave, Carl. He is in his shop. And we're going to be hearing about his project, Modular Hippo. But before we do, I want to jump down here and hear a little bit from Aaron and Patrick. Take it away, guys.
Hey guys, so I'm here. My name's Aaron from Extraordinary Horizons, and I'm here on the hard in South Florida. I didn't swim in the Kansas City River yesterday. I wish I did, but I didn't. And yeah, we're happy to have Carl here. Excited to hear about what he's got going on. And yeah. All right, Patch, go ahead.
Good. So Patrick from Sailing Electra, and I have just anchored about 5 minutes ago. I just got in from sailing from Corfu to Igoumenitsa, which is quite a safe bay because we've got a few more storms coming, but it's good to see you all, and especially to see you, Carl.
Nice to meet you too.
So Carl, tell us a little bit about your passion behind this. What's your why?
So the why is probably, let's start from the beginning. I'm from Sweden and Stockholm, the capital, and wherever you look in whatever direction you have water. Stockholm is built out of 14 islands. So I've grown up with water around me at any one time. And I had a quick mention before as guess how many islands we have in Stockholm or in Sweden in total. Would you know, Patrick?
Patrick wasn't here.
Yeah,
I've been there, but I can't remember how many islands. I know there's a lot. I'm going to guess 100. How's that?
Yeah, let's time that by 100, and it's actually I think it's 240,000 islands. So there's no country in the world that has more islands than Sweden, which is mental. So we have this archipelago, and I kind of grown up with friends having little houses and islands. So from Stockholm, you don't take a boat and you go out. And then carried on. So I went to summer camp and we did dinghy sailings from the age of 7 up to 15. And that's where the passion for sailing came from. And then around 18, 19, I became a scuba diver instructor and then an MSDT. And I traveled the world a bit and did a bit of dive work here, there and everywhere. So the love for the ocean has always been there, and it's always been a draw. And probably around when I was around 18, I think it started with me going to Greece, where you are now, with my friends. And we were playing with the idea of, imagine if we had a boat together and we lived on the boat and we could, could party, we could just that would be lifestyle. That never happened. I'm 52 now, and it's many, many years down the line. And that dream has never really left. So I've only come to this position now where I can start making a reality of it. And that's what I'm doing. So I still have this romantic dream of a little kind of bay in Greece somewhere with the turquoise water, as you know, Patrick, having the scuba diving compressor on board, driven by sun power, and be able to just jump in whenever, wherever, and just that kind of freedom. So yeah, that's the whole idea, and that's been what's been driving me for many years. So stop me if I'm talking too much, because I'm getting really excited now with this.
No,
listen, Carl, you're the reason we're all here. We want to hear you talk.
Keep going.
Fantastic. So for many years, we always go to the West Coast here. Right now, I'm based in Wales, in the UK, and me and my partner, we always go to the Welsh coast. So more or less every other weekend, and they have marinas there everywhere. And I'll be walking up and down these marinas, and I will be thinking, buy, build, buy, renovate, build. And it took me years, literally years, before I just realized that what makes me excited is when I think build. that's the only thing I can explain it by. You know, I think that if you want to do it in a short time scale and cheaper, you probably shouldn't build a boat. But it makes me excited, and that's why I'm doing it. Because a lot of friends going, why don't you just go and build buy a boat? You know, why are you building it? And that's the only thing I can say. It makes me excited, makes me happy, and that's why I'm doing it.
I love that.
So,
That's fantastic. And I think we can all relate to that in our own way.
Yep.
How does that impact you guys? Let's go to the panel here. I know for me, it impacts me because as you're building it, or in my case, renovating it, like I like to call it upcycling it instead of recycling it. And so as we're upcycling our old 1986 Prout Snow Goose from a sailing vessel to a solar powered one that's cruising is what we want to do. Our plan is the Great Loop, but as you're talking, I'm going, God, I connect with that. The just because I want to, just because I want to know every system that's in that boat by heart, you know, that's powerful. How about you guys, Patrick, Aaron?
Yeah, so my why for renovation was because, like Jason said, I want to know every system in the boat, and I had certain things that I was looking for in a vessel that unfortunately I couldn't find unless I basically renovated it in myself. You know, we have 5 parrots and 2 dogs, and we're trying to make allowances for them inside of the boat, and we just couldn't find any kind of production boat that would provide that for us.
makes sense.
And that's a unique thing about what we're all doing is, hey, I don't see what's out there,
Right.
you know, in a production boat. For me, I actually do. I see silent yachts and I go, that's a beautiful thing that goes solar powered. I want that. And then I look at the price tag and go,
I left that out. I'm not wealthy, so that's not in the cards for me at the moment, you know. So yeah.
I love it. Patrick, let's hear about your why, brother.
Sorry, I've missed a little bit of the call. Did you just repeat your question, please?
So we were hearing from Carl, and he was sharing about his why, and he went into all kinds of beautiful things. And then Aaron and I have just reflected on our own why, and it just triggers, let's hear about your why.
Why'd you do it?
Mine is good. I don't like living in one place. I'm quite nomadic in my lifestyle. But I don't like roughing it. So for a while, I did a bit of bicycle touring. That was a lot of fun. I've always wanted a camper van. That's pretty cool. But you can't live like you live in a house in a camper van or off a bicycle, you know. And when it comes time to do laundry or when you want to relax on the couch and just chill out a bit, boats are the only thing that really give you that opportunity to live in paradise. And nobody chases you away like you're in a camper van, and nobody charges you to put up a tent because you're on a bicycle. You can literally live in the most beautiful places in the world and take your whole house with you. And you can do it on solar power, which none of the other vehicles really allow that. It's just, there's so many huge positives about it. Yeah, I absolutely love this type of life.
That's so good. Well, let's dive in with Carl's boat and his I guess not his boat so much as his product.
His boat parts.
Because as you can see, he's not in a boat right now, but I'm going to go ahead and share a presentation we have of his modular hippo concept. We get that all squared away for us, and we will dive in. I do want to take a moment, and as I see, we have some viewers here present on the live stream. If you have questions that relate to either the actual conversation we're having live, or if it's just something to add to the concept of solar sailing, boating, live aboard type stuff, please put that in the comments. We may or may not air that on the stream and talk about it, but chances are pretty good we're gonna highlight your comment and try and break that down a little bit. So without any further ado, let's turn it over to Carl to talk us through his project, which the boat here is, remind us, Carl, this is not actually the specific boat, is that right?
Yeah, so this is the Mark 1 of the Kiribati 36. So this is the original designer's own boat that he sailed for 10 years. So he was sailing around the world, and after those 10 years, he then took all his experience and he kind of plowed that into Mark II, and that is the kind of modified version of what he spent his 10 years on. So everything he learned, all the failures, all the successes, he plowed into a second Mark II version. So it looks very, very similar to this one. And the only thing is that I have a hard dodger as well on top. I think he had a makeshift dodger there, as you can see. But it's a 36-foot aluminium boat built in 5083, which is the aluminium type. So that's marine aluminium.
Okay, now I got to interrupt real quick, Carl, because y'all over there are so sophisticated over in Europe. You say things that we Americans can't quite understand. Aluminum and aluminium are the same, right?
Same thing. Same
okay,
thing.
I just had to be sure we weren't talking about some space age metal here.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. So
go ahead.
8,000 kilos of displacement, of which 2.5 ton or 2,500 kilos is the ballast. So it's a Class A safety rating. If you look at kind of the European insurance kind of chart of how you evaluate that. So it's a very, very kind of safe boat. It's probably not the fastest boat in the world, but I'm not after speed. I'm after practicality and something that can take me to places. So because it's aluminum, as we say, it's good for kind of high altitude sailing. So you can sail among ice and things like that without having to worry that it's going to breach your hull.
And so it doesn't kind of expand and contract, or tell me a little bit about that, because I'm going to be the novice of the group.
Yeah, it will expand and extract like any sailboat. So when you kind of installing your windows, you tend to leave a 4 millimeter gap along the perspex and the actual recess in the frame, because you will have that flex. It will always be flex in a boat, and it should be flex. Otherwise, you will have cracks and things will break. So it's a thermal expansion as well, as you're saying. So it will thermally expand, probably more than a glass fiber boat, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, as we go through these photos, I remember I didn't put them in any particular order.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. So the reason, back to the first picture, the reason I went for this model as well is that it has 2 rudders at the back that kind of supports the boat when you beach it. So the keel is the swivel keel that comes into the boat. So that allows you to kind of beach it and do maintenance. Nice. So my first choice, Patrick, was a catamaran. But when I went through my finances, I realized that, I might have to wait for the day when I can get a catamaran, because it's almost like having twice the boat. So there will be twice the material, twice everything. So it's although I'm very happy with the kind of monohull way I'm going, it's worth mentioning that I was looking at catamarans in the beginning for the beachability. But then when this came up, and I thought, okay, I can beach that one. I can do most of the things I could have done with a catamaran. It's not going to be as stable as a catamaran, a bit more rocky, but it's something I can live with. So this is actually the picture as I was walking up these proms in the Welsh coast, and I decided, I'm going to build. It was only a week later I went onto Pinterest, and this picture and a couple of other pictures came up. And when you get that light bulb feeling, and I just knew this is the boat I have to build, and it just went very quick after that. And I got in contact with the designer, and I bought the plans of him. His name is Luis. He's a Brazilian guy, and he's been absolutely amazing along this journey, because any WhatsApp messages, any emails, he just supplies me with tons of build photos from when he built this one, as well as any kind of feedback from his experience. So I feel really lucky to have gone down that route, because I can imagine there's companies you buy plans from them and then you kind of maybe not hear so much back, and there's a lot of kind of spots in the build where you really need someone who to give you a little bit of advice and reassurance that you are actually doing the right thing. The worst thing would be to paint yourself into a corner and then realize you have to redo things. And I just don't have the time or the money to do that. So I had to get it right from first go. So yeah, so that's the reason for the boat, and that's the story behind this picture, which is yeah. So the other picture you showed was the keel that is the bulkheads. So I think there's roughly 14 bulkheads in the boat, and as I'm going along, I am creating these bulkheads in a parallel with everything else, so that when I have all the bulkheads and I have all the material to build a hull, that's when I will move out of this little workshop I'm in right now into something bigger, where I can set up a hardback and put all the bulkheads up, and then start to put the actual hull together. And the idea is then to have all the other parts ready. So I might just need maybe 4 or 5 weeks indoors, rather than starting with a hull and looking at a hull for 4 years while I'm building everything around it. So there is a method to my madness. Most people start with building the hull first, and then they look at it. Mentally, I couldn't do that. It would literally crush me if I had to look at a hull for 4 years, feeling that I can't really see the progress. So sometime in this journey, I almost convinced myself that I haven't started to build a boat yet. I'm just building some small things here and there. So I'm kind of saving myself for building the hull mentally.
Makes total
if that
sense.
Makes sense.
It makes total sense. It makes total sense.
I can imagine you, Aaron, that you have a similar kind of approach, because there's not just a physical input in it; it's a mental input as well. It's a financial, physical, and mental. You know, you have days where you see progress. Sorry.
No, let's get Aaron's perspective a little bit on that. Can you unpack that a little bit, Aaron? How's that feel seeing the opposite experience?
Yeah, so it's definitely mental madness for sure. I can totally relate to what he's saying about, hey, look, let's build the boat backwards, so to speak, where we're going to build all these parts, and then we're going to stand it all up inside of a bigger space after we have all the parts together and put it together like a puzzle, instead of vice versa, where you're, that's definitely a huge exercise in mental madness. And I don't know if I could deal with that either, because I'm dealing with a mental madness now that I don't know how much more I could deal with if we did it the other way. So yeah. For sure.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you just think about the differences of experience, and I'm like, wow, there are so many different things to branch off of that.
Of course.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So on this one, this is an old gas bottle that I converted into a lead melting device. So the idea is to have a fire underneath. I just need to kind of strengthen up the legs a bit. If you can see, the legs are quite thin. And if you imagine 400 or 500 kilos of lead in there, it could be a dangerous exercise if one of those legs goes. So that's what the breeze blocks on the left is for. So I'm just going to kind of put them in. And then I have a steel box, which is not in this picture, which is a sand casting box. So I will be 3D printing the actual ingots in the size and shape they need to be in, put that in the sand, pat the sand down, get the shape out, put a lid back on, and then pour it with lead. And that is those shapes that will then go into the keel that you saw lying on the ground in the previous picture. So that's 960 kilos needs to go into that keel, and it's like, I think it's 21 individual shapes. So some people say, why don't you use just kind of shotgun lead, the small pellets? And the reason is that there's so much air around shotgun lead that you will actually only get 60% of the weight in, and 40% is lost in just dead space. And that's why you want to go with those solid ingots. So if that makes sense.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Carl. So going through all of these photos and having this conversation, which by the way is fascinating, because you see all different perspectives of ways of doing things. How far are you in? And I know it's hard to judge, but give me a good estimation. How far are you in? And how far, and I shudder when I ask this question, but how far do you think you have to go until you have something that looks like a boat?
I would say probably another 24 months, which is a crazy number, but it's a realistic number. If I worked on it full time, I'd probably turn it around really quickly, but it's kind of a part-time project. So I would say I'm probably in terms of the hull, in terms of the electrical setup, I'm probably 40% there, and I have another 60% to go, or maybe 50. I'm probably halfway down the line, I would say.
Okay. And how long have you been working on it? How long have you been actually hands-on working on things, not thinking about it, but working on it?
So since 2024, so beginning of 2024. So
okay.
It's
perfect.
Yeah, probably 18 months now, maybe.
Okay.
So
perfect.
As you know, some days you see progress, other days you work and you see progress, and that's back to the reverse way I'm building it. Is that you would probably put a hull together in 3-4 weeks. So you would be really excited that both are coming together, and then looking at that hull for another 4 years while you do the rest. Yeah, it would crush me. So hopefully I'm doing it the right way.
You're doing it the way that's working for you, so that's really the only right way.
Yeah.
Love that. What are we looking at here?
So that's the keel box. So the keel that you saw on the floor kind of swings into this keel box in the middle. The black little thing on the left-hand side there is the sea strainer. So you will have two water pipes coming up into the sea strainer. So that will be the kind of the main inlet of the water. And at the top of this, I wish I took the top holding off now. It would make more sense. But this is kind of the central of the sailing boat. So on the top of this will be two sinks.
Sorry.
So there'll be two sinks at the top of it. So that's where you will do all your kind of washing up and so on. And then behind you then is your galley where you can do all your cooking. So yeah, it's all these kind of chunky pieces that I'm doing. So once the hull is done, I can lift this in, weld it into place, and then you have several months of progress just done in a very short period of time. The boat came as a fixed hull, a fixed keel version as well, which would have been a little bit cheaper, but I wouldn't be able to beach it, which is part of this romantic dream I'm having. So it had to be the swing keel version.
And the beaching of the boat, is that something that is so inspiring for you because of what you've seen growing up, or is that something because you haven't seen that growing up and you want that?
I think it's just the thought of being able to do maintenance. I think it's a practical aspect to it. So be able to beach something and then kind of maybe work on the hull or repairing something, or I think there's a lot of benefits to be able to beach a hull that you kind of lose out on if you can't.
Sure. It makes me think of, I don't know if you guys watch the Sailing Brothers. They have a Prout Snow Goose.
Yeah, I do.
Theirs is not solar. Theirs is a sailing vessel, but they have episodes where they intentionally get into a very shallow stretch and beach their boat, as it were, during low tide in order to work on the motor and whatnot. And that makes me think, Patrick, have you ever done something like that? Is that doable for your boat even?
So the Prouts can do it, the Cadillacs can do it. They do it in the UK, but the tidal range in Greece and in the rest of the Med is maybe about this high. So you can't really do it here.
Gotcha. That's fascinating. So
that's an interesting point, Jason, because the draft of this one with the keel up is 70 centimeters. So there's also a safety aspect. So if you want to go into these kind of shallow areas to shelter from wind and weather, you could literally do that quite easily, and you couldn't do that with a fixed keel.
I'm sorry, did you say the draft is what?
70
centimeters.
Wow.
So 7 centimeters. So yeah, so it's a very low draft. And I guess Patrick, yours is similar, something similar.
It's around about there, and the nice thing is there's almost always a space in the anchorage when you're that shallow. You can out creep everyone else. I've got my spot in Corfu, which is always open because I can get shallow and the other guys are too scared to. And it's beautiful when you're around there as well, because I go I jump in the water and I clean the side of the hull, and I can push up on the hull, and I'm standing on the ground, and I can scrub the hull a little bit, which is quite nice.
Fantastic. And what you don't think about as well is that, if you are sailing in, I'm not going to go into technical terms of what it's called in certain directions when you're sailing, but some directions when you're sailing, you don't even need to have the keel down. It's pointless to have that extra drag, because you hitting and going in one direction, and the keel is not needed. So it might as well stay up, if that makes sense.
Sorry, that took me a minute to type, and so I'm putting that up there just for the good of future viewers. That is amazing. I love that. Okay, so moving on to the next photo here.
So that's the keel and the swing keel. So you can see that little in the top right corner, you have a kind of a swiveled aluminium housing that sits on a Delrin plastic kind of a bushing that sits then on an aluminium rod. So that is what is clamped into the keel box and allows the keel to swivel up and down on its pivot. That makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So,
it looks like a little flick knife, but I guess you can't really hold it in one hand and flick it out.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So if you would turn that whole thing upside down, you will see kind of a mesh structure with these 21 different boxes. So it's like a skeleton that is built on. And what you see here is just the outer plate that has been bent into shape and put on. So the other half of that plate is actually to the right of me, just a meter away from me right now. So once I filled the keel with the lead, and then sprayed the lead with epoxy twice to make sure that it doesn't contaminate the aluminium, and then also a rubber mat on top of that, which is fire retardant, to make sure that when I weld the lid shut, nothing catches fire. So the reason for having 2 layers of epoxy and having the rubber mat is that even though there might be pinhole imperfections in the welding, even if salt water comes into the actual keel itself, there will be no reaction between the lead and the aluminium. So it's kind of fail-safe from that point. Instead of relying on that the keel is going to be absolutely watertight at all times, it doesn't matter if it's not, because you have that extra kind of membrane of epoxy and rubber mats between the two different metals.
Oh, here we go. This is one I've been excited about.
So that's an interesting one. So that's kind of how it all started with the electrical side, is that I'll just hold this one up. So you can see those little 7 square cutouts. Each of those square cutouts holds these 30 18650 batteries. So these are all being recycled from old laptop batteries. And when you break open an old laptop batteries, it's very often one of the batteries that has failed, and the rest of them are fairly okay. So what you can do is that you can recharge them. You can see what the exact voltage is of each of these batteries. So I have 840 of these, 28 of these actual packs, call them cells. And you can then use a computer program which will divide these cells, these individual batteries in the cells, into 14 packages or 14 cells that have the exact same voltage between them, because you want to have those cells as equal as possible. And so when then they go into the pack, as you can see up here, you have a DALI 200 amp BMS, and below that you have an active balancer. At the top there is a parallel pack unit as well. So I have 2 of these, and they will be standard next to each other. And each of them is 3 kilowatts of energy, so 6 kilowatts in total. So the idea is, this is my secondary battery project. I, for myself, for the fun of it, wants to know if I can go into a marina and I can exit the marina based on using these cells only. And the more realistic version that I don't have to put too much kind of stress on is my actual 2 Saplos battery boxes that is built in under the floor level. So that will be the kind of the primary solution where I know I should be able to get in and out of a marina and not having to stress about it. But
okay, so I have to
yeah,
back up a little bit for those of us who don't have your guys's like extraterrestrial brains. So you are literally taking the insides of
sorry,
old computer batteries. You're taking all the individual pieces out,
yeah,
finding the bad ones, keeping the good ones, and recycling them all together in a massive battery that can power your boat.
correct. That's the idea. That's the theory, and then if that works in real life or not, we'll see. I'm sure it will. It will get me somewhere. I just don't know how long they will last in terms of
Okay, so
the
this
draw.
is utterly brilliant then, because not only like how much are you having to pay for these old batteries?
So you pick them up on eBay, or someone sells, maybe 7 or 8 of these batteries for $30.
Right.
40,
So you're
and
getting this at a massive discount compared to what even the discounted rates I consider them for Eve sells, for example, on Amazon, which is where I got mine. But by comparison, you're getting these at a steal. Now you have more work to put them all together than I do. Like I had the Eve cells done, very easy. 16 cells, and we'll call it good.
yeah.
You're going to have how many cells total?
So in total, there will be so each of these battery setups will have 14 cells in them. So it's what we call the 14S, so 14 cells in serial connection, which will then give me my 52 volts. And then 30P, which is 30 individual 18650 batteries per cell.
Parallel connected between them to give maximum amperage.
Yeah, so that should give me, I should be able to draw 200 amps at 48 volts at any one point.
That, my friend, is brilliant. And it's a way of recycling something that most people, let's just be real, at least here in the States, we throw that stuff away.
Yeah.
And we don't even think about it again.
It goes into the landfill.
Sorry, Aaron, I just was still rambling. Go ahead. Say what you were saying.
It goes into the landfill, rendered useless. Yeah. Yep.
And not only talking about the uselessness, but even the toxicity of these things that are just now sitting there leaking eventually into the land. Yep. And now we have people like Carl saying, why are you throwing that away at all? This is ridiculous. Yep. Awesome. I love that. Good job. I can't wait to hear more. Now, as we continue in this, let me ask you, you shared your modular hippo, or maybe Aaron shared it, the YouTube address. Are you okay if we put that on our stream here? Is that okay to share?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm going to move to the next photo. You keep talking. I'm going to share that link.
Yeah. Before you do that, just a little disclaimer. Obviously, these 18650 batteries, which is lithium-ion, it's not lithium-ion phosphate. So if you are, getting wet or anything like that, they can obviously catch fire. So these batteries and these setups will go into a steel box, which is kind of fireproof. So if anyone's watching and they go, I'm going to build my own lithium-ion battery and stick it in my boats, I think boats have perished because of lithium-ion batteries. So just keep that in mind. Keep them in that steel box. And another quick one as well. The build of these batteries got me really excited to be able to recycle something that people were throwing away. Because you find these batteries in power tools, you find in everything from electric toothbrushes to you name it. But it was also a way for me. I didn't know what a BMS was when I started. I didn't know what an active balancer was. I didn't really understand wattage against amps and voltage. And so this was my kind of little project to just get my head around all of this before I started on the bigger parts of the boat. So it's been kind of a learn as you go along and have fun at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I love it. I absolutely love it. To be in a similar boat where you're like, I don't have a clue what all this is, but I'm going to figure it out because why not? and I want to. And then I look behind you and I see everything, and I'm going, the dude has figured some stuff out. This is looking great. So you're okay if we do share that YouTube link for
Absolutely.
folks? Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, folks, I'm going to put that on the screen now, and I'm going to move the presentation back because I want us to be sure to get through these photos. Some of these are really fantastic here. What are we looking at here? Is that your battery?
So that's the primary battery bank. So that is two Seplos 280 DIY battery boxes. And it's interesting because I had a question from one of my YouTube watchers the other day, and he said, I really like your DIY setup, but I'm also looking at some closed-in closed-in marine batteries, and I'm not sure which way to go. And for me, back in the day when I started with this, those batteries were extremely expensive. So I've gone down the DIY route because it was the cheaper option for me, and it was the most energy for the buck I could spend. So if you have the money and you're only just interested in driving your boat with batteries, then you might look at the marine batteries. That they're still quite expensive, but they're also an option. So I just want to point out the reason I've gone for the DIY build is because it fitted my budget, and also once again I wanted to know what's in that box when it goes into the boat. So you ordered the batteries separately. So these 16 prism batteries comes, and you get a big box of just nuts and bolts and all the the BMS and the balancer, everything is. So you kind of need to just put it all together and understand what is doing what as you go along, which can be a bit stressful. But before you know it, you actually have a working battery and you know what's inside. And it also gives me a chance before I put this on the boats to seal up all the circuit boards with special spray to make sure that they're good for a marine environment. I might replace some bolts with stainless steel bolts and so on. So it just, I love the fact of being hands-on and know what's going to go into the boat. And these batteries will go into aluminium boxes that will be kind of under floor level and leaning against the keel box itself. So they will also be used as ballast. So they weigh a little bit more than 200 kilos. So I will actually have to remove 200 kilos of lead because we are putting these in. So that's interesting as well, that you can actually get the double use of them. One is that it's a battery, and the second is this ballast as well. And there will be little heating mats underneath as well to make sure I can regulate the temperature via the Victron equipment. So I can have a little heat sensor in there that can tell me what the temperature is. And if the temperature goes below a certain point, they automatically will then switch on the heat mat to make sure that I keep the temperature that I need. So yeah, that's the plan.
Carl, these little switches over here, fuse switches,
Yes.
breaker switches. I think it was last week, might have been a couple weeks ago. We had a special guest on the show who is, correct me here, Patrick, if I get it wrong, but I think he was the Victron ambassador for the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. We call him Mr. Victron, actually.
Mr. Victron was on the show, and he was fantastic. He really gave me a great recommendation on these to make sure to go with the Blue Sea systems. And I see the black and yellow, but I can't quite make out are those Blue Sea?
Probably not.
They're not, but I just, since I got that lesson, now I'm of course looking for everywhere for that.
Yeah. So that's a 200.
I used to use those on my electric bicycle as well. Occasionally I used to lose one. I used to freak out and die if they weren't name brand. They were just sort of Chinese imports, but I always carried a spare, and you just unscrew and bolt a spare one on. So
Pop them
that's
on.
another way to go about it.
Carl, what are we thinking there? Are we good with those?
So I think for now, and also they will be mounted in a place where they can easily be replaced, or they're very kind of, I don't like the word cheap when I'm talking about safety and boats, but they are not that costly. So
Yes.
if I find out that they cause me grief for whatever reason, I'm happy to replace them. For
Absolutely.
now, they're doing what they say on the box, so we'll leave them in for now.
Love it. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. That is impressive.
So that is what you have behind me here, but seen from the side, and that's the two 10 kilowatt Golden motors as the brushless water-cooled version for both of them. So a lot of the stuff that you can see behind, except for the motor controllers, which are those little boxes with the colorful cables going into them, is linked to the actual cooling of the motors and the actual motor controllers themselves. So I've started a very elaborate cooling system, which is basically built on just industrial fans attached to those three kind of you see those at the top there. There's like a radiator.
This up here?
So it's so it's up there.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, that's the one. So it's actually one for each motor and one for each motor controller. And someone, as always on the internet, someone gives you a better idea. And someone said, "Have you heard of something called skin cooling?" And I was like, "What's skin cooling?" And it's a very, very basic, practical setup where you are attaching a box to the hull itself under the water level, and you are then guiding your water through this kind of maze labyrinth, and it cools down along the way, and then you have one bigger pump that will then just be one closed system that goes through the whole thing.
And it's called a skin controller?
It might be skin cooling. It's what it's referred to. So skin cooling. So you kind of the skin of the boat, which is the hull itself, that's where it's always kind of cool, and you can then use that cold to lower the temperature of your the water that goes around these just to cool them down.
Okay,
so what I'm doing,
that's new learning for me. I got to know, Patrick, Aaron, is that old news for you guys? Like,
No, I didn't know anything about that. No.
I didn't know anything about it, but I don't think it works quite as well. So I'm getting out the sun on a fiberglass boat as it will as on an aluminium boat. I think that really
this is steel and aluminium or aluminum. So that's probably why it has been kind of off your radar in that sense.
I just have to clarify, because I always think I'm the dumbest person in these streams. And when you guys say something that blows my mind, I go, am I the only one sitting here melting down?
So, yeah.
Interestingly, those are the same motors that Mr. Victron used. Identical, in fact, the 10 kilowatt Golden motors.
Cool.
Okay. Now earlier, I think, Carl, did you turn them on?
Yeah, I did actually. I don't know if you can actually see or hear anything, but it's on in the background. So if I use this throttle there, I don't know if you can hear anything.
Yeah, I can hear it. We can hear it. Yeah.
Both of these are spinning. So right now they're just connected to a smaller 100 amp battery at the back here. So that's 4,800 watts, I think, and. I connected them to the actual BMS or to the Saplos boxes before, but I've disconnected the Saplos boxes because I'm now connecting the new Links distributor to everything. So just before the show, that's what I was doing. I'm connecting the inverter to this one and this one to the motor as well, and then I can start playing around and I can fill my scuba tanks with my electrical compressor and all that stuff. So that will be for future episodes.
Now, Carl, folks have shown us different Victron pieces of equipment, and I swear to you, we're not sponsored by Victron, although if they wanted to sponsor us, I think we would probably be open to that. I'll defer to Patrick and Aaron on that one as co-hosts, but yeah, Victron, sponsor us. We'll gladly do that. I think I speak for the team there. But I don't think we've seen a Lynx yet. And if you want to dive into that a little bit, that's the bus bars that Victron makes. Is that right?
So that's correct. Yeah. So they do two versions of this. One is the M8 version, and one is the M10 version. So that's the size of the bolts of the actual lugs themselves. So the actual holes. The first version they released was the M8, and it works equally as well, but they've gone over to a new standard, which is called M10. So that's why I went with the M10. So they're good for 1,000 amps of power, which is way above what I will ever need. It has 4 DC inputs or outputs, depending what you're looking for, as well as an earth lead in the middle as well. So you got the fifth inputs here from the side. So that's where my battery will go in, and then I can put one of these 4 to my inverter, for example. The second one's for my motor, and then keep on going. And then you could also then feed your solar into here if you wanted to, or your your turbines or wind turbines, whatever it is you want to use. Obviously, it needs to be DC when it comes in and not AC. And the good thing with this one is that if you buy a second one of these, you literally slot it in here. So you now have just a blue line of 8 inputs and outputs.
Fascinating.
Which looks really neat and tidy. It's easy as well. And
yeah, that's like a grown-up jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? It's like, let's play that game. I want to play that game.
So that's awesome. And then you can also slot a smaller piece onto, which is a smart shunt, which will then show you the power in and out from your actual battery setup. So
and do I see a smart shunt behind us there? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's a smart shunt. So this is the standalone smaller smart shunt that I bought before I realized that they had a version for this. So I'd probably stick with this one. It's doing exactly the same thing. It's just that this one you monitor from your phone rather from the servo screen that sits up here. So it's just a different way of doing it. And I think also the price difference between this one and this one is, I think it's like 3 times as expensive, but they do exactly the same thing basically.
So I want to take a moment and camp out on this with the links. So Patrick, I don't remember seeing links on your system. Do you not have links, or you do?
I don't have a links distributor, and I don't have a smart shunt. I went with sort of standard bus bars. I was economizing at the time, but that is the top of the notch, top of the range stuff. I'm quite happy without the distributor because you can do it with the regular bus bars, but you also need fuses then, which the links distributor has got built-in slots for the fuses, which is really nice. You go.
So they sit in here. Nice. So these mega fuses are literally lined up here, and you can see with little light indicators here when they are using or if anyone is broken. So not only will your phone tell you that the fuse is gone, but you can also see it at the front of the unit. Yeah.
Well, and I like that you called it mega fuses. You've really tapped into the American mind, I think. We like mega, big, huge.
Yeah, that's
Victor's always says fuses. You're like, oh.
that's Victor's own name, so I think they've tapped into the American mindset.
I love it. Okay, so I have to call Patrick out on that because pretty much my boat is a replica of his boat. Everything I have in my boat, I have to see it in Patrick's boat, or it's not okay to be in my boat. Yeah. Like that's pretty much this is the blueprint. And so I see this and I go, is it worth it? I wonder if it's worth it. That's probably worth it.
If you want to keep things neat and tidy and have them work really well and be able to see what's going on, it is worth it. But yeah, obviously, I mean, you've got to draw the line somewhere. What is your budget and what can you do with it? The one thing I don't have, which I really think I do, is the smart shunt, because without it, you're kind of guessing on how much battery you've got left. So that's, if you want to put something on your shopping list, I would go for a smart shunt before the links distributor. But if you've got the money for both, get both.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there's also loads of different smart shunts out there. It's not just Victrons. There's another 2-3 brands that are doing the same things as the Victrons. And it's an interesting point you're doing that, Patrick, because I've had an old camper van with 600 watts of solar on the roof, which everything in that camper van has been running for 8 years. Everything is no name. So the inverter is a no name inverter. The MMPT is a no name, and it just works. And it's, I have a stack of lead batteries, and it's doing exactly the same thing. It's for a fraction of the cost, but I'm thinking now I'm building it for a boat, and I'm building it for the future. So yeah, I'm going down the route of maybe paying a little bit more, then maybe I would have to. You could probably get away with doing exactly the same thing on a fraction of the cost, if you're brave enough.
I do believe the Victron stuff is all coated to handle sea environments, and I think that's why it's really good in boats and things like that.
Yeah.
But listen, there's one thing you do need to do. Your motor mount behind you, it looks just like the flux capacitor. If you don't paint it or decorate it to make it look even more like a flux capacitor, you'll be doing a disservice to all of us.
Yeah, no, definitely give that a go. When everything is working exactly as I need it to, I'll make sure it's pretty.
Sounds great.
And also all these stuff that you see on the board here will be neatly packed into some aluminium boxes and stuff like that. So the idea is to have as little things on display as possible. It's just kind of neatly packed into boxes, and the only thing you have is the motor. And then that's the idea.
I'm going to need you to go with Modular Hippo. That's clearly the name, and then a little subline that says, "Is that a DeLorean?"
yeah.
That's true. Yeah, aluminium as well.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so in every show, we kind of enjoy chatting with our special guests when we have a special guest type show, and just hearing about their project. And your project is fascinating. Before we dive into final thoughts, which is how we tend to wrap up our show, I do want to zero in on the daily BMS, because you chose the red one. I went with the blue one. I have no idea why I went with the blue one, other than it had active balancing, which I read up on enough to know that's probably good for me to have. Why daily and not someone else?
So DALI, I think it was the influence of YouTube. A lot of projects I looked at and followed, they used DALI, and DALI responded very quickly when I contacted them and explained what I tried to do. And they guided me in the direction of this 200 amp lithium-ion BMS. So yeah, I think, to be honest, it just, that's what I knew, kind of thing. I could probably have got something, and also I like the fact that it was already kind of in a very solid enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a lot of BMSs, which is literally just a circuit board, and then you kind of build that into your battery and stuff. And I wanted something that on its own was quite sturdy. And a lot of these are used on motorcycles or bikes, just because they are so modular and so sturdy.
I know for mine with SoulSeeker, like I said, I model so much after Patrick's, because it was like, okay, his is as close to plug and play as I've ever seen. And when he got to the BMS, he described something that, and I'm not a total idiot when it comes to technological things, but he described something that I was like, I think I need to look into something that's more out of the box. His was like, he got in and started doing this and that. And he goes down a tangent where I'm like, help me, I need to follow you, but I can't. You're going down a path I don't understand. And so it was a BMS description in one of his videos that I went, I just can't get my brain around it. And I went to look and I saw these and went with the blue one that has the active balancing, which, if you don't know, that's where it kind of actively seeks to balance the charge for each of your cells. Patrick, I've kind of picked on you today. I feel bad in a way, but tell us a little bit about your BMS and what led you down that path. Was it just affordability? Was it other purposes? Talk to us.
A mix of stuff. So I've got a JBD BMS. I mean, it works fine. It's got a very slow balance, which isn't great. For a while, I had it paralleling with an active balancer, but I found that without an active balancer built into the BMS, the balancer actually tries to balance in the middle of the charge and at the bottom of the charge. So that's a mistake. But the nice thing about the JBD is it runs through a relay instead of FETs. Most of the BMSs use these little electronic switches called FETs, which can turn on and off really quickly. Whereas mine uses a relay, which can handle huge amounts of current, but it doesn't flick on and off very quickly. And it's got a little bit of standby battery drain as well. if I had to do it again, I'd probably go for something like the JK BMS, which has got the active balancing, or even the Daily, which has got the active balancing. But again, my BMS has been fine for 3 years now, 4 years.
Yeah.
Can't really complain about
you
it.
have the ultimate win for any conversation in this, because your win is it's been working for 3 years. I'm like, can't argue with that.
I do have one more question for Carl
sure.
on Modular Hippo.
Yeah.
How are you charging everything? What is your? I mean, I'm sure you're going to have solar, but what else are you going to
Yeah,
do?
that's a really
Regen
good
or?
question. So there will be these motors have regen on them, and my propeller size and type is with regen in mind. Saying that, you probably need to sail at least 66 knots to be able to generate anything back. So that is kind of plan B. There will be obviously solar panels on the hard dodger, as well as on the it's called the bimini at the back, where the little dinghy sits. And there might be some features there where I might be able to fold out additional solar panels when I'm not sailing. And there will also be 2 transom turbines that comes down behind the boat. So very similar to the ones you can buy, but I will probably build them myself because, yeah, why not? And then there will be 2 vertical wind turbines on the mast, as well as 2 wind turbines at the back. As you know, with wind turbines versus solar, it's solar is a no-brainer. Wind turbines is more like a trickle charge to slowly kind of have something going in instead of nothing. So hopefully between all of that and the way I'm using the boat, I should be able to kind of have enough to move with. Plan B is I have 2 EU22i Honda generators that will be built in aluminium boxes at the back. That is connected to a EG4 charge inverter. Don't know if you can see it on the wall here. That's this little black box here.
Oh.
So it kind of cleans the electricity before I charge my battery bank. So if I'm not charging the battery with my inverter, which has a 70 amp charger, and if something goes wrong with the inverter, I can connect the 2 Honda EU eyes straight into my main system at 4,400 watts, as well as using the charge inverter to put 50 amp of charge into the battery as I'm running them. So that's my kind of little lifeline, because I think there is a lot of people that have kind of done the calculations that, we have this talk about the safety 500 miles that you potentially want to be able to do with your, motor or your engine. And to do that with a small boat, an electrical engine, it's very hard, because you would need today so much battery storage that it becomes ridiculous, and you need so many solar panels to do that. So plan A, make sure I can get in and out of marina safely, and get as many nautical miles as I can on my battery banks. But in that kind of situation where I need to rely on something else, that's where the 2 generators comes in.
Aaron, what are you thinking, brother?
Oh, how many? Yeah, I like that, because that to me is redundancy and safety, and not getting stuck, so to speak. So to me, I would look at that as sort of a hybrid system where you have a oops or an oh shit that like a backup plan, a backup to the backup plan. So I think that's smart.
I've seen I don't know if you've seen the channel The Neds. He's a guy that quite early used one of the golden motors on his smaller sailboats, and there's one video where he's just run out of battery and there is no wind, and he's drifting towards bad stuff. So it's you don't want to go down that route where you go, oops, no power left, and no other options, and because we have some quite nasty rock formations here on the west coast of Wales, and your boat will be smashed up into pieces within 5 minutes if you go into those on the wrong day, basically.
Patrick, I kind of cut you off there. What were you about to ask?
No, I was just trying to ask sort of how much solar he thinks he'll be installing, Carl, more or less.
That's a really, really good question. I obviously want to get as much as possible. I've been looking at a little bit at these photovoltaic panels, the soft ones, and I haven't started to calculate the total input because I don't know how overboard I'm going to go with where I'm going to put them. Because you can hang them in a lot of different places these days. You even see these people putting it on the boom and along the safety railings and all sorts. So I need to do a calculation on that one, but it will. Yeah, I couldn't tell you at this point.
I have never seen someone put it on a boom. You have? That's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy town. I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, I've kind of pushed that into the future a little bit. I'm starting with the propulsion and I'm starting with the batteries and I think the next chapter will be, how do I in the smartest way make sure that I'm charging these and become as independent as possible. So those are the two things. I want to be obviously electrical independent and then make my own water. Those are the two things. And if I can achieve that, I'm happy. That's that ticks the two biggest boxes for me. So
yeah, and then you can build all the furnishings and luxury-ish like things around that, because if you don't have that, you really don't have that freedom that we also desire.
True. And I'm not in a super hurry to do the interior of the boat. That can take time. We all need stuff to do, and I'm quite happy to focus on that at a later stage. I just want to get a boat in the water, be able to run it on electric propulsion, and then the rest is chapter 2, basically.
I love it. Let's go to final thoughts. I'll start. I love the project. I think this project's really fascinating. I can't stress enough how impressed I am with the recycling of the otherwise thrown out batteries. That's brilliant, and I applaud your efforts. Anything like that really just makes my heart skip a beat, and I'm like, oh my God, everyone needs to know how cool this guy is. What in the heck? Whoever even thought about that? That's brilliant. Good for you. Let's jump to Patrick or Aaron. I don't know. Do you guys want to rock, paper, scissor it?
All right, let's go. Oh, we got 2 scissors anyway.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick. You can go.
So what I like is how you're making sure you can fix everything that goes onto the boat. Now, most people, we refit a boat or we put new motors in, but you're building the whole boat, and I think that's really cool. I think that's going to be. It's a huge project. It's it's something that people undertake and they never finish. But I have complete faith in you. I'm sure it's going to get done quite soon, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it performs. One point on your 500 miles of safety. The thing about an electric boat is you always have that range. It just depends on your speed for that range. So my 500 mile speed is 3 knots. But you'll find once you've got your charge circuits and that built out, you'll find that you will have that range. It just depends on what speed you've got.
Oh, that's good. Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. So my final thoughts is that echoing what Patrick said, there is definitely a huge factor of doing something that I would say 99% of the people will never do, which is building a boat from scratch, just because it's so many different factors and perspectives looking at it in time, like time and patience and working through this, and the mental toughness that you have to do these kind of things is incredible. I like the idea of how it's all set up and the concept of the modular hippo. Everything is in its place. Keeping things in the idea of, like Jason said, of recycling these otherwise throw.
Oh, am I the only one who lost Aaron?
I think I lost him as well. I
You
thought you
lost
guys
me.
would
Oh, there he is.
lost me
Back.
first, so I'm glad it wasn't me.
Aaron, are you back? To go out on final thoughts is hurtful. That's just
That's no fun.
that. He is trying to rejoin here. Let's see if he can jump on and have a stable connection.
All right. Sorry about. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. I'm back. Yeah. So I don't know where I got to, but I like the way that he's able to recycle the laptop batteries. I really haven't seen that before, at least on a boat. I'm interested to see how that works out in the end. And then I also like the two generators to be able to back up the system if there isn't anything else. Like the worst feeling is you're out there somewhere and you're sitting waiting.
Yeah.
I think Heinrich is going to have a sail, so that will be a backup to the backup to the backup. But as many redundancy backups without going totally crazy is always great, in my opinion.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, just a note on that one. I'm looking forward to see how I can drive the boat, maybe with the generators on, and see if that 4,400 watts will give me maybe 3 knots, or
Wow.
just at least something. So yeah, that would be interesting to do some bench tests on all of that.
So one other thing, do you know how many gallons of fuel each one of those generators use per hour, or no?
I think it's not in gallons.
It's in It's in liters. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think it's a 4-liter tank, and I think you can run it for at least like 4 hours, something like that. So yeah.
Okay, so 4 liters are in 1 gallon, so that's pretty good gas mileage, so to speak.
What's cool
Yeah.
these Hondas as well is that they are basically they will only rev up against the inputs asked for. So if you're asking for, let's say 20 amp, they will rev up to the point where it can deliver 20 amps. So they don't constantly run on a high rev to give you. So very economical in that sense. So if you don't draw, it goes down to idle almost, and then if you switch a light on, it goes up a little bit, and it kind of adjusts itself. So
very nice, Carl. We give you the final word, and then I'll draw it to a close with promo for next week.
Awesome. So I guess one for your viewers, if you walked around for 20 years and it's in your backpack or in the back of your head that you have to do it, just start it. You have no choice. It's your calling, and it's the only way that you can kind of move forward. So all I can say, just take the leap, just do it, start it.
I love that. Take the leap, just do it, get started. And I loved what you said earlier with I'll probably build it myself because why not? I love that.
Why not?
Hey, folks, we appreciate you following along with the show. We hope that you're getting valuable content out of this. I know if this were around when I was first thinking about and building Soul Seeker, I'd have been eating up every episode, every second of it. So I hope that it's valuable to you in the same way. Looking forward to next week because it is a mystery episode where either Patrick or Aaron will bring us back from special guest episodes to more of a topic-centric, whatever the topic is that they have chosen to have that episode be about. I will say that the following week, so if today's the 4th, next week's the 11th, the 18th, we'll be talking about solar arches and solar bridges. Basically, my own choice of topic because my solar panels are sitting on top of the cabin enclosure and I need them to get the heck off of there and get up high. That's why I removed that mast so I could use all that stuff underneath it for comfort and enjoyment and relaxation. So the best ways to do it, we will be having a special return. So a special guest from previously, Reinhard, who had a boat with the solar canopy that just tickled my fancy so much. I reached out. I begged him. And he was very happy to come back onto the show. He's not coming as a special guest to showcase his boat so much as to talk about this concept on the 18th of solar arches, solar canopies, and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure we might, on that topic, actually get Carl to at least be in the comments. I mean, there's only so much real estate on this video screen, but hopefully we will have some returning folks on that, even chiming in the comments. That would be helpful. Patrick and Aaron are going to duke it out off screen to see who gets to pick the topic for next week. But I know with the two of them choosing, what the heck, I will want to be there for that because that is must-see TV. And then finally, the 25th, we are going to wrap things up with whoever lost that arm wrestling match between the two of them. It'll be a virtual one because I don't think Aaron's in Greece. And I definitely don't think that Patrick's coming to Florida anytime soon. And so they'll do a virtual arm wrestle. Whoever lost is going to choose on the 25th. And again, must-see TV. Like, how can you go wrong? The two of them are going to pick a topic that's going to blow our minds anyway. At that point, we are reaching a section where the three hosts of this show will have revisited, hey, how have we done so far? So in the comments, please put comments. Tell us how it's gone so far. And we're going to be reflecting on, okay, is this something we want to continue? Do we put a bow on it and call it season 1 complete? Do we keep on going until the cows come home? Until the manatees swim back? I don't know what to say about that in solar sailing terminology. At any rate, so we're going to be doing some of that. So lots happening. Stick around for the upcoming episodes. That's it. We turn it back over to Patrick for the best send-off you have ever heard in your life.
Thanks for watching.